The meeting will come to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Morning. Well, the meeting will come to order. Welcome to the Plymouth Town Meeting 2026. Robert's rules will be the rules of order for this meeting. Only legal voters of the town of Plymouth, Vermont, who are present may speak and vote on articles at this meeting. All motions and remarks will be addressed to the moderator, that's me. Please stand to be recognized and state your name clearly. All motions must be made and seconded. A motion can be amended and that amendment amended once. Each person will get one chance to speak during any debate before anyone can speak a second time on an issue. I will allow one follow-up question in case of a question answered by a town official, and I think we should give town officials a little leeway when they're presenting the budget. No one may speak more than twice in debate on any question, the exception being the select board answering questions. Please use the microphone so that everyone can hear you. Let's get on with the meeting. Warning. The legal voters of the town of Plymouth, County of Windsor, State of Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Plymouth Municipal Building at 68 Town Office Road, Plymouth, Vermont, on Monday, March 2nd, 2026 at 7:00 p.m. to transact at that time business not involving voting by Australian ballot or voter required by law by ballot. Polls will open Tuesday, March 3rd, between the hours of 10:00 a.m. and 7:00 p.m. for the purpose of voting by Australian ballot to act on the following articles. The legal voters of the town of Plymouth are further notified that voter qualifications, registration, and absentee voting relative to said town meeting shall be as provided in Title 17, Chapter 43, 51, and 55, Vermont statutes, annotated. You must be a town of Plymouth registered voter in order to vote at town meeting. Voters may request an early absentee ballot from the town clerk's office by calling that number or email. Tuesday, March 3rd by Australian ballot, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., Article 1, to elect town officers for ensuing year by Australian ballot, moderator, selectman, lister, trustee of public funds, cemetery commissioner, and constables. To see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will authorize the select board to maintain a fire truck equipment reserve fund in the amount of $150,000 annually for 3 years in accordance with 24 VSA 2804. To see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will authorize the select board to establish a future emergency highway/natural disaster reserve fund for roads, culverts, bridges in accordance with 24 VSA 2804. To see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will authorize the select board to maintain a future emergency highway/natural disaster reserve fund for roads, culverts, bridges in the amount of $100,000 annually in accordance with 24 VSA 2804. And to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote to increase the exemption for eligible veterans as required by the state of Vermont from $10,000 to $40,000. This exemption only applies to homes that are owned by the veteran or survivor and their primary residence. And you vote on those tomorrow. Monday, March 2nd, 2026, informational meeting and annual meeting at 7 p.m. Which is now. We will vote on these. Article 6, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote $16,089.50 for human services to be allocated as follows. American Red Cross, $250. Black River Area Community Coalition, $500. Black River Good Neighbors, $500. Black River Senior Center, $3,000. Fletcher Memorial Library, $1,200. Green Mountain Economic Development Corporation, $321.50. Green Up Vermont, $50. HCRS Mental Health Services, $568. Movers, $125. Okemo Valley TV, $800. Okemo Valley Technical Rescue, $2,500. Otaquechee Health Foundation, $600. Plymouth Historical Society, $500. Plymouth Memory Tree, $250. Senior Solutions Council on Aging for Southeast Vermont, $300. Southeastern Vermont Community Action, $400. Tyson Library, $500. Visiting Nurses, $2,150. Vermont Center for Independent Living, $175. Vermont Rural Fire Protection Task Force, $200. Windsor County Mentors, $500. Windsor County Youth Services, $400. Women's Freedom Center, $300. Article 7, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote to increase Okemo Valley TV's annual appropriation to $1,400. Article 8, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote to raise $1,508,259.94 in taxes to pay estimated expenses in the amount of $1,924,659.94. Article 9, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will fix the salaries of the select board the same as last year in the amount of $1,600 annually. Article 10, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will collect taxes on real property in installments, taxes to be paid to the treasurer, town of Plymouth, on September 1st, 2026 and February 1st, 2027, and must be delivered to the town treasurer on or before the due date. Postmarked envelopes / payments will not be accepted as timely payments. Dated at Plymouth, Vermont, the 20th day of January, 2026. Town of Plymouth Select Board, Jay Coleman, Chairman, Richard Kaminsky, Vice Chair, and Keith Cappellini. Since we will vote the first 5 articles, tomorrow we will start with Article 6 to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote $16,089.50 for human services to be allocated as follows, which is just what I read before. Do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second on Article 6. Is there any discussion? Yes, sir.
Just a question about the next.
Speak loud, or if you speak loud enough, or use the microphone, one or the other.
Mark Fletcher, and just curious about the next article, which is about Okemo Valley TV going to 1,400. Yes. That will take place next year. the amount that's written, 800 is for this year, is that correct, or is that gonna change depending on what we do with the next article?
The answer, did the select board have an answer to that?
That's in the, Article 7 is in the budget. It's budgeted for FY '27.
Okay,
That-
so what we're voting on is the $800 amount for this year, and then we may vote to up that to 1,400 for subsequent years, is that?
That,
I was under the impression it's going to be for 27.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what I was the.
okay.
Okay.
Is that clear? Is there any other discussion on Article 6? Okay. If there's no further discussion on Article 6, we will vote to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote $16,089.50 for human services as listed in the warning. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it. Motion is passed. Yes, sir.
You've mentioned a couple of times now that the vote is legal residents of the town of Plymouth. How do you know who the legal voters are when you hear the ayes or nays?
You know, that's a really good question. We do have a voter list, and when there's a paper ballot, we do check those off. So technically, if we had to, we could screen people at the door. But for the most part, I can name about 3/4 of the people in here. And I think that most people know who their neighbors are. But I guess we could have an imposter here. All those who are residents, please raise your hand. Okay, I trust that everyone is telling the truth. That's my ruling. Thank you. But it's a good question. It's a valid question. Article 7, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote to increase Okemo Valley TV's annual appropriation to $1,400. Is there a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. We have a motion and a second on Article 7 to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote to increase Okemo Valley TV's annual appropriation to $1,400. All those in favor, do we have any further discussion? Any discussion? I'm sorry, you're distracted. Is there any discussion on Article 7? Oh, yes, sir.
Just again, so we're saying that instead of the $800 that we just authorized to pay them, we're instead gonna pay them $1,400. This is not in addition to the $800 that we just approved.
Right,
Is that correct?
14 in
It'll
sum.
go from 800 to 1,400.
That is
Money well
correct.
spent. They do like an
I know.
incredible
Just
amount of
wanna
work.
make sure-
Patrick's always, coming up with new ideas, so.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is carried. To see if the legal voter, Article 8, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote to raise $1,508,259.94 in taxes to pay estimated expenses in the amount of $1,924,659.94. Do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Okay, motion, Article 8 is on the table. This is your budget article, folks, so this is the time to discuss your budget. And is there any discussion on Article 8? Would you like to make a presentation? If no one objects, I think it's very good for informational purposes if the people who know about the budget make a presentation and tell you about it. Okay.
So we have just a couple things to share with you. We'll keep it brief, but I think you have a couple decisions to make tomorrow as well. So just a little background about where the town is. And I'm going to put some slides up above. For context, these are the taxes for 25 and 26. And you can see financial year 27, there's a reduction of about $86,000. And we paid for the fire truck over financial year 24, 25, and 26. So 27 reflects the taxes without a fire truck. So taxes are going back down again. For 2025, I just want to everybody have a look at our current assets. Our general fund was $852,000, and our reserve funds were up just over $1 million. For financial year 26, the general fund has once again increased, and you may wonder why. And that's conservative budgeting. We probably collected a little bit more in taxes than we needed to and spent a little less than we had anticipated. So that general fund is increasing over time, and that's been a trend over quite a few years. I think since it's gradually increased since Tropical Storm Irene. We're probably holding a little bit too much cash and should think about how we put that into a reserve fund. So that $982,000 in reserve funds, we are spending that down. You have a lot of information in this report. We already spent $339,000 on a grader. We're going to spend $120,000 plus on a reappraisal this year. And our 550 is coming due for replacement, approximately $90,000. So you can see that those reserve funds will be shrinking down to below $500,000. And the significance of that is we used a lot of our reserve funds as a borrowing mechanism during the last set of floods that we have. The thing that we're concerned about is the future of FEMA and what kind of support they're going to provide Vermont towns. So having cash on hand is really important for a town to function and do the work in case of an emergency. So when you see that article tomorrow, why the select board wants to establish an emergency fund and how to fund it, that's the discussion. So we borrowed in 2023, $874,000. That has been paid back for those 2023 floods. And we also have paid back the accounts that we borrowed from ourselves. And the discussion could be in the future, should we take some of that general fund surplus and add it to the emergency fund? We're not asking you to do that now. And one of the things that's on the ballot for tomorrow, is a fire truck, and Jim, you may want to even speak to that before I go through the finances.
I can speak to that.
If no one objects, we'll have the fire chief come up and explain a little of that.
Jim Allen, Fire Chief. So basically the fire truck fund, we're just trying to prepare for the future. We have our truck is a big truck. It's a 4,000 gallon tanker. And with our current situation, we require a CDL for that truck. The drivers that we have in the town that volunteer their time, they're kind of getting to retirement age. And so we're gonna need a vehicle that's a little more accessible to more of our members, to be able to use the truck and function, as a regular fire department and help other towns and stuff like that. So basically, a used truck is anywhere from $280,000 to $300,000. The people that drive the truck now probably, Larry's not going to be around that much. Once he retires, he'll be gone to the lake or whatever. So it's going to kind of be hit or miss. So in order to kind of keep the same coverage that we have and be able to have extra water and stuff when we hit a scene, when we have a situation, to have a truck that's more accessible and easier to drive, that's an automatic, that doesn't need a CDL. So over the course of A brand new truck is $400,000 as of today. So over the course of 3 years, if we save up $450,000, kind of that would be the price of a new truck. Obviously, we would look into used vehicles at the same time. We just kind of want to be proactive about getting some money in the bank and being able to continue service for you guys. So that's what the $150,000 over the course of 3 years, that's what that term translates into. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so if you want to know what that means in terms of your taxes, if you have a $400,000 property, or it's assessed at $400,000, that's going to cost you about $231 a year for the next 3 years. If we're talking about the emergency reserve fund, and we fund that at $100,000 a year, that's going to cost you about $157 per year over the next, till we decide to stop funding that account. Anything you want to add to that, about that emergency?
No, as you've been reading in the paper, FEMA is pulling back on funding. They just pulled a bunch of funding from the Northeast Kingdom. So we're anticipating they're not going to be around in the future. So our next flood could cost us $2 million. So trying to be proactive, our thought is to start a reserve fund, put in $100,000 a year. Some think that's light. We should go a lot more than that, but we're just trying to be easy on taxes. So we're going to start this reserve fund specifically for the purpose of anticipating a natural disaster that's going to affect our roads, bridges, and culverts.
And so we're voting on the budget this evening for $1,508,259.94. If both articles pass tomorrow, the budget will be $1,758,259.94.
Okay. Any questions for the select board? Yes, sir.
Scott Hepler. So if we have another flood in 8 years, and it costs us $2 million, and we have $800,000 in the fund, what do we do?
We would borrow short term, and then it would be up to the town to continue borrowing or raise taxes to cover that.
Yes, sir.
Mark Fletcher, just.
Speak loudly, please.
So the fire truck that we're talking about is gonna replace the current one. Is that true?
Yes.
And what becomes of the old one? Are we selling that?
We would-
And is there
yeah, we would
value
sell
that we're counting on getting for the old truck, or?
Not really. I mean, that truck would probably be worth, and just ballparking, maybe $30,000 or something like that. It still has good bones, and it's, but it's an old truck. It's not, we would put whatever we got for the old truck into the budget for the new truck, for sure.
Any further discussion on Article 8? If no further discussion, we will vote Article 8, which reads, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will vote to raise $1,508,259.94 in taxes to pay estimated expenses in the amount of $1,924,659.94. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it. Article 8 is passed. Congratulations, you have passed your budget. Okay. Okay, Article 9, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will fix the salaries of the select board the same as last year in the amount of $1,600 annually. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. We have a motion and a second on Article 9. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we will vote Article 9 as it reads. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it. Article 9 is passed. Article 10, to see if the legal voters of the town of Plymouth will collect taxes on real property in installments taxes to be paid to the treasurer, Town of Plymouth, on September 1st, 2026, February 1st, 2027, and must be delivered to the town treasurer on or before the due date. Postmarked envelopes / payments will not be accepted as timely payments. Is there any discussion on Article 10? Any further discussion? If not, we will vote Article 10 as I read it before. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
We didn't have a motion in a second.
Oh, okay. Let's go back. Do we have a motion? I'm sorry. You were such a good audience. I just kept on going. We have a motion on Article 10. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Okay. Article 10 is now on the table. Is there any discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it. Now, typically, this is where we open it up to other business. It doesn't say it on here, but I'm going to do that. And then after that, we're going to adjourn the meeting. And when we adjourn, I'm going to ask you to stay where you are so that our representative, Charlie Kimball, can come up and address the group, because I think that's why he's back here. Okay, I think that's why Charles Kimball is standing in back. So out of courtesy, I think we ought to stay here and talk to him. But before that happens, this is other business. This is where if you haven't seen your neighbors for a whole year or sat down, there's 52 Plymouth residents in this room. That doesn't happen very often. Anybody have anything to say? Announce?
No, I'm quiet this year.
Except Bob, as usual. Well, I mean, if there's no further discussion under other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a motion to adjourn? We got a second? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? This meeting's adjourned. Charlie, come on up here. You got me that time. Anywhere you want to go. Is that mic on? Let me see. You need a mic?
I don't think I do, but.
That mic's not on.
Speak loudly. So do what she says. She'll tell you what to do.
What do you want me to do? Take Tom. Stand right here. Sorry, can you hear me now? Is that all right? Hi, nice to see you all again. My name is Charlie Kimball. I'm the state rep, and I represent Woodstock, Reading, and Plymouth. So first, I was going through the treasurer's list of unclaimed property today. Jay Coleman, you've got 3 things you could collect from the state treasurer. Tom, you've only got 1. Keith, you've got 4. Rick, I'm sorry, you've got 0. All right, so, but seriously, the state treasurer maintains property that has been given up by, it could be a gift card, it could be stock, it could be money left over, refund checks, that kind of stuff. And it's in your name with the state treasurer. So check it. There's millions of dollars there. Michelle Pingree, you've got money there, so does Justice. Kat Robbins, is Kat here? All right. Art Lines, let's see, Bill Lambert, Bobby J. Lambert as well. Anyway, so Rick, I checked and you don't have any. I checked, sorry about that. And Brandon Berge. Brandon's usually here, but no. All right, anyway. So the state treasurer really does have all that money that is available. And the proceeds of it then go to other sources after it's been unclaimed for a certain period of time. But anyway, thank you for allowing me to speak. I thought you were done last year. You said there were people that were... Okay. Wasn't it done?
Yeah, that's what he said.
All right, anyway.
No one will do it.
So a report from Montpelier. I was here a couple weeks ago. We were talking about school financing. And that is what continues to be the major issue in front of the legislature, is trying to figure out all of the unfinished business from Act 73, which was passed in 2025. Part of that was a foundation formula to how to pay for education on a local basis, and that's how much money goes with each student. Some of it is how are we going to tax people.
Vermont is the only state in the country that has a statewide education property tax. It's been around since 1997, since the Brigham decision. It is different than any place else. And there is the property tax credit, which helps adjust that for people that struggle to make their property tax payments. And about 70% of the people in the state who own their home do pay based on their income and not on the actual value of the tax bill from the valuation. That's under revision as well. To be a homestead exemption, be easier to calculate, and so you would understand it. So that's part of Act 73. Taxing properties at different uses, whether it's your primary home, your second home, or everything else, meaning commercial property, land, all that kind of stuff, is also in process, and that would be effective in July 1st of 2029. So 2028 for that fiscal year then. All of this requires a lot of work that is currently in process. So to say it's immediately available would be a lie. The biggest part of that is redistricting the school districts. And that was a major issue or a major idea that the governor put forward, to have 5 school districts instead of 119. And that process slowed down. There was a task force that was created saying, well, what should they look like? And the legislature waited for them, and instead of coming up with 3 potential district or maps, they said, we don't like the idea of forced mergers. We like the idea of cooperative education service areas. Instead, it's a different approach. Instead of forcing schools to merge, to share some services like special education or back office operations, that type of stuff. So it's a different approach. It's not what all of the other parts are contingent on from Act 73. So that's why the map wars have started in the legislature to say, this is the map that I like, this is the map that I like, this protects my school, this protects my school. So that's kind of started, and it continues apace. So stay tuned on that. We've got 10 weeks left in the legislative session. We've gone through 8 weeks, and we're going to try to iron all of that out in the next few weeks. Some of the stuff, like the foundation formula, we're waiting on a report from a consultant to come back in December to figure out if the numbers we had last year are right. They may not be. And that is, it's $15,033 per student, and then it's weighted for every additional instruction that's needed, whether it's somebody an English language learner or somebody from economic disadvantage or someone in special education. All those weights that are applied to that base provide additional instruction for those students. We have to re-verify that that information is right, because it may not be right, and then the student might not have enough resources for them. Other stuff, I'm glad to hear the select board is being aggressive about putting money in the bank for anticipated future needs. We are in a situation where we can't really rely on some of the federal government funds that we've been receiving. So the FEMA reduction or pullback from a declaration of a disaster area in the Northeast Kingdom is very telling. A couple of other things, the corporate tax rate was changed in the big beautiful bill in August. And if Vermont just conforms with those changes, and we stand to lose about $24 million in revenue in fiscal year 27 and about $34 million in fiscal year 28. So we have to figure out what we're doing with that. Also with Medicaid payments that are paid by the federal government, there's a requirement of a match from the state. And that match is paid for by a provider tax. That provider tax is assessed on hospitals primarily and some nursing homes. That right now is set at 6%. The bill says you can only charge 3.5%, and it's going to ratchet it down. What that means is that we will have $113 million less to contribute into the funds that would bringing down federal money. So these are real, and that we have to anticipate what they are and figure out how to respond as a state. It would be nice if we were independent, but about 36% of our budget comes from the federal government. So in some areas, it's a bigger percentage. So we have to be really careful about what we do. The governor often walks a tightrope between pissing off the president and actually just going ahead and managing business. And that's a real thing in this environment. So there's probably a lot more I could tell you, but I just want to give you an update as to where we are. We've had some updates in a casual setting at the Ottaquechee Yacht Club in Woodstock. I tried one at Rick's store, Chloe's, at too early in the morning. It was 7:30 in the morning on a Monday. Nobody came, and I don't blame you. It was like, but if you have an area of interest, you want to know what's going on in Montpelier, I would love to talk to you. If you have an event, an organized meeting, please let me know. I'll come whatever night it is, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. I'm open to questions, but last year we were here for a while. But.
It's okay.
Yes.
I have seen two maps so far of where Plymouth may end up. One was Rutland,
Yeah.
and the other, I couldn't read the newspaper, but it seemed like we were not part of Woodstock. Tomorrow, we are being asked to vote for a school in Woodstock. What are the ramifications to our debt requirements or vote? I guess I don't know the right question to ask, but how does that all fit together?
Everybody hear the question?
Yeah, but the one that was in the Mountain Times, as some of you came to that meeting last time, the right-hand side was the old map, the left-hand side was the new map, and we were still in with Woodstock with a bunch of others that were also put in there.
Yeah.
Because I double-checked that when I got home.
So Elliot Rubin's here from the school board.
I wrote to Polly and said that was the wrong map and that was misleading because it looked like we were being stripped off and put into the Twin Rivers. That wasn't correct.
Right.
So yes, school districts haven't been formed, and there was one that did have Plymouth going over to Rutland, and that was, I got a lot of calls after that one came out.
I didn't see that one, but the one
Yeah.
that we had the discussion on.
And it did make a whole lot of sense. So I don't think you'll see another one with that coming out. So the one that had mountain views all together and didn't change it at all was great, except it wasn't big enough. So, if you look at increasing the size, maybe at Hartford, Windsor, Heartland, then you're getting to a size that's actually more manageable, it's getting more students. And what matters is equity in your grand lists, which sounds weird, but it's how much you have in property wealth divided by the number of students in your school district. Mountain Views, as it was just by itself, is about $4 million per student, and all the other school districts that were in there are about $1.5 million per student. And that makes a difference when you're talking about equality and taxing in terms of how much you're raising for the school district. So, the vote on the new school. It's contingent on two things happening. As one is removing the excess spending threshold from the calculation of per pupil spending. The second is 25% being raised either from state aid or from other sources. So that's significant. Both those things have to happen in order for the school project to go forward. And right now we have a bill about decoupling in the state legislature, which is recognizing the current state of things, not the future state of things in an education transformation. But it says in this environment, you get penalized when you go over that excess spending threshold so that you are paying double in taxes for every dollar amount over that excess spending threshold. And Mountain Views is currently over the excess spending threshold now. So that's one. And the second piece is finding state aid. Where can we find money to pay for this new school construction project? There was a report that said we have about $6 billion across the state in construction needs for schools. It might be higher than that, and it might be lower than that. It might be higher because that was just to fix and replace what current schools are, not anticipating what schools should be. Should we have a different configuration of our classrooms and that kind of stuff to reflect 21st century learning? But it could be too high because we're not going to rebuild every single school. There's a concept of newer and fewer. So that we would have larger regional schools for middle and high school, not for elementary school. So the idea is not to try to put Johnny and Susie on a bus for an hour and a half. It's to try to minimize the amount of time for the young kids on a school bus. So that's really the intent. So voting on the new school, does that guarantee that that's going to be a hub school for the area? No, but it's well positioned to be. If you vote no, does that mean the school won't be a hub school in the future? No, but So anyway, what it has shown is there's, Woodstock's school has been held up as an example of really good planning, starting in 2016, having engineers doing valuation planning, that kind of stuff. And also a long process. So it's not just, bloop, here's the Taj Mahal. It's gone through a lot of different processes to cut excess spending out of it. So people at the Agency of Education really appreciate the process that it's gone through. Sorry, long answer.
All that money that was supposed to be raised through lottery sales and alcohol, tobacco.
Yeah.
My understanding is being misappropriated and it's not going to education.
Ooh.
So where can we find the numbers? Because I asked this to one of our elected officials and I was told, no, we're using it elsewhere. Where's all that? You don't have to answer it now, Charlie, but you may want to, I want to find out where all that money is. You're talking a lot of money.
I'll look into that, but I know, I'm on the Ways and Means Committee, and we look at taxes every day. We look at all the revenue coming into the education fund. It's about 37% of what we spend on education. It's about 34 to 35 million is the net proceeds from all liquor and lottery. No, all lottery, not liquor.
Yeah.
From lottery, and that goes into the education fund. And when I first got in the legislature, it was about 21 million, so I don't know if we're gambling a lot more or what's going on, but on the liquor side, I don't know.
That's what you can find out.
Yeah.
Tobacco and alcohol.
I'll find that out,
And
yeah.
I don't think that money's going where it should go.
Okay, fair enough. And I have no idea. Wow. All right, oh, Scott.
One more. If FEMA goes away, can New England replace that? Like, does it make sense to do it on a larger, on a regional scale?
That's a great question. I would hope so. I know there's no money just hanging around at the state level. So if we could work cooperatively with other states, that would be a really smart thing to do. I don't know how you'd structure that, but yeah, that makes sense. I want to leave you with one other really boring but kind of interesting thing for me because I'm a tax geek, and that is coming up with regional assessment districts. So what that is to relieve some of the pressure on your local listers and assessors to do your townwide reassessment. So that started already, right? Or in the fall? In the fall. Because the CLA in Plymouth is 48.8%. You're not the lowest in the state. Your neighbor Killington has that. And that's because it's so hard to do reappraisals on a regular basis. For a couple reasons. There's not that many firms that want to do an appraisal of a town with 1,000 parcels. There's not enough money in it for them. And then the data set's kind of too small. So then what happens with your CLA is that you've got 4, 5, 6 properties that sell and they're way off the mark as to where the assessed value was. So it's a spike. But that spike, it's a 3-year look back. But that drives that CLA down in this case. Because that is then applied to every property, and not every property changes at the same rate. Some, really go up in value, maybe triple the value, and others may go up at 10% in the same time period. But CLA is a blunt instrument, so all of your properties are adjusted by that percentage. So regional assessment districts are in part of Act 73. To have it every 6 years doing a reassessment of all properties in a much larger area, trying to get it to 10,000 parcels. So we're in the process of trying to figure that out, to minimize those spikes, to give it a bigger area, more frequent, not scientifically based because they are already, but a better data set to come up with reasonable values. So we're going through that process. It's not easy. Because a lot of towns don't want to be joined with another. There's different automated software, software applications used by each town to try to figure out what the assessments look like. It's CAMA software, if you really want to get nerdy. So regional assessment districts are an important part of evening out where your property valuation spikes are with your CLA and how to be equitable going forward. And we're pushing that through the tax committees now. Told you it was boring.
That's good.
All right, thank you. Select Board, thank you, Mr. Moderator, you're back up. All right. And if you do have a group who wants to talk politics, let me know.